Today we've got a brand new rock buggy designed for the roughest terrains, including racing, but capable just about everywhere. We're talking about 4S LiPo power, big old tires, 4-wheel drive, waterproof brushless electronics, and fully independent rock buggy racing suspension. And no, it's not a mountain goat, it's the Losi Lasernut. Now we mentioned this was an all-new buggy, and that's half true, because this buggy is actually based on the Tenacity family of vehicles. So it comes fully assembled out of the box, including the scale body, the electronics, and transmitter. Even AA batteries for the transmitter are included. All that's required is the battery pack, and you can choose between a 3-cell LiPo or, for maximum power, a 4S LiPo. And with that, the Losi Lasernut is ready to roll wherever you want to go. And it does it in style with officially licensed styling and aggressive off-road looks. Now to start, our race buggy is a scale replica of the Lasernut Unlimited U4 FIS Rock Race Buggy, piloted by the Lasernut Racing team. This is a real vehicle that's out there that's driving in extreme off-road events. So it makes sense that Losi created an RC replica of the Lasernut that's not just fun to drive, but is ready to compete in the RC version of 2.2 Unlimited U4 Rock Racing. And this is the first time any company has made a complete U4 racing buggy. In the past, guys would just take pieces and parts and convert and create their own racers. But now we have the Losi Lasernut, and it's big, it's bad, and it looks amazing. Now to make that possible, our Lexan body, the roll cage, and the decal branding are all officially licensed through Lasernut Racing. But this isn't just an ordinary body. This body is another step towards the future of RC vehicles, where they not only perform great, but they come including scale details and pieces to make the body and overall vehicle look as realistic as possible. And this body is a great example of that. For starters, the body is made of individual Lexan panels that are then secured to the inner roll cage. And then to build on that, many of the Lexan panels on the body have different hard plastic scale details fixed from the inside to add a bit more dimension and depth to the body. We also have working LED lighting on this body with a working light bar across the windshield that shines white. And then we also have these light pods on the corners of the windshield, each containing 4 amber colored LEDs. Now our interior is another area of scale realism with a full Lexan piece that hides the interior of the chassis and adds seats, 2 rider figures, the steering wheel, a dash, and finished off with scale decals. Now our rider helmets are made from hard plastic and they're screwed onto the Lexan interior piece. But the helmets feature something really cool, and that's these oxygen tubes that would feed fresh air to our riders, which are used in the real thing. These tubes are also made from a flexible rubber material, so they aren't going to just crack or break on you. Now behind our riders is this Lexan cowl piece that's bolted on to provide a bit more dimension, and directly behind that is our 5th tire. This tire is completely ready to use if you need it, or you can just leave it there because it is an officially licensed tire and looks pretty dang good. The rubber tires on the Lasernut are 2.2-inch BF Goodrich Mud Terrain TA KM3 tires, glued to licensed Raceline 2.0-inch wheels. And then these wheels attach with a 12mm hex and then secured with a 7mm serrated nut. Now the last really cool thing about this body is how it fully secures to the chassis with only 2 body clips on the hood and then swings up from the rear hinge. This really helps when you're swapping out batteries or just need to get to the chassis quickly. The LED wiring is also run back here, so it's out of the way, never needs to be unplugged or plugged in, and interferes with nothing. Now in the chassis, this may look familiar for those acquainted with the Tenacity platforms, but not everything is the same, because there have been many updates to create the Lasernut. Now for starters, the chassis is longer than previous versions and has been stretched out behind the rear gearbox, having all this empty space now. This probably helps maintain our proportions when using these huge tires. Now you'll also notice in the chassis, the battery box now uses 3 Velcro straps to secure just about any sized 4S LiPo you want to use. The Lasernut also features functioning sway bars on the front and rear, with the rear sway bars sticking out of the body to add more scale realism while keeping the buggy flat in choppy terrain. Now for electronics, we have the Spektrum 130 amp Smart ESC coupled with a 1900 kV 550 sized 4-pull motor. The servo is the Spektrum S614, which has metal gears and just over 200 ounce-inches of torque. And then the receiver is the SR6100AT that features AVC, active vehicle control. Now all these electronics are waterproof. Now for the transmitter, it's the newer Spektrum DX3, and it's great to use, and it highlights one of the features of the Spektrum Smart technology by showing you your remaining battery power with these LEDs on the transmitter. It can be really handy when you're out bashing and glance down at your transmitter to know how much battery power remains. But that feature only works if you're using Spektrum Smart batteries, and that's exactly what we used. Now for driving the Lasernut, we used this 4S 5000 milliamp hour smart battery and paired it with the Spektrum S1100 AC battery charger, which we had never used before. And I didn't realize that when you plug the smart battery into the smart battery charger, you don't actually have to do anything. Immediately once you plug in the battery, the charger just starts charging it because it knows everything about that battery. I was even able to change the auto discharge function within the battery using the charger. By default, the battery will auto discharge after 72 hours, but I changed it to auto discharge after 24 hours of inactivity, and the battery will essentially just storage charge itself. Then along with that smart battery, we actually did briefly use this Gens Ace. It's a 5300 milliamp hour 3-cell LiPo, but we only used that to briefly do a speed run. Now, I don't think the Lasernut has an official speed rating from Losi. It's not a speed run car, it's a rock buggy, but still. With that 3S LiPo on the stock gearing, after a few passes, we were able to hit a high speed with the Lasernut of 30 miles per hour. Cut time out. You can't see the speed on the speed meter. The sun was shining right down on it. We didn't notice it out there, so I guess you're just gonna have to take my word for it this time. Now, we switched to the 4S Smart LiPo battery, we put in the Lasernut, left the stock gearing, did a few warm-up passes, and we were able to achieve a top speed of 1 million miles an hour. Okay, that's a lie. It was closer to about 45 miles per hour. Now, one cool thing is that the Lasernut includes 2 different pinion gears, depending on if you're going to primarily use a 4S or a 3S LiPo battery. Now, Losi expects people to be buying this thing and to be using it on a 4-cell, so it's geared for a 4-cell as well. There's a 12-tooth pinion gear on there for 4S use. If you're going to primarily use 3S LiPos in this, there's also a 14-tooth pinion gear included that you'll want to put on that motor for your 3S use. Now, had we put that pinion on for our 3S speed run, we would have achieved a higher top speed. But top speeds aren't really an issue. This thing is all about the bottom end power, all that bottom end torque, which makes sense when traveling through really challenging terrain, going over logs, chopping through rock gardens, climbing up gnarly stuff, you name it. Since the Lasernut uses 3 differentials, the front's got 10K, the center has 20K, and the rear has 5K, this vehicle relies on just brute power and grunt torque to get it going. Where a normal 1.9-inch trail truck will take a climb slow, methodically, thoughtfully to get to the top beautifully, the Lasernut just jumps up and is plenty capable to do so because the Lasernut is designed to move. Now, even at high speeds, these sway bars do a really good job at keeping the car flat. I noticed it the most when we did our speed runs on the really high traction pavement, and the buggy was really easy to drive and control on that surface once the AVC was turned off on the transmitter, because you will get some speed wobbles at high speeds with that turned on. For all the jumping and the rock gardens, the aluminum shocks are filled with 35 weight fluid front and rear. They work great, they react quick on those hard hits, and none of them have leaked. These 2.2-inch tires are really tall and help raise up the buggy a bit and give you a lot of extra ground clearance underneath that chassis. So the Lasernut feels a bit more capable out there in the rough terrain compared to a standard sized 10 scale vehicle. So much so that it almost feels like an 8 scale vehicle out there. A bit bigger, a bit more capable, and you don't feel quite so bad going fast through the really rough, hard, choppy, rocky terrain, because that type of environment is pretty dang abusive on RC cars. But with all the driving and hard hits we did out there, we got away with it. Or so we thought. After hitting some big rocks, just square head on, we broke apart. So we broke this brace that attaches to the front shock tower and provides a mounting point for the bumper. The plastic piece just broke clean off, so much so that we never even noticed it when we were out there driving. It wasn't until we came back and we were inspecting the vehicle that we saw it. Oh, and the little fake plastic winch that was up front fell off also. We kind of dinged up the body a little bit. It's dented a little bit, not cracked. So that front bumper brace either broke when we hit some rocks really hard square on, or perhaps it happened when I hit this metal gate.
I thought there was space there to go underneath that fence.
I don't know, do stupid things, win stupid prizes. In any case, I don't blame the car for that. The part's probably only a few dollars, and it's well worth it. Because for really rough terrain or scooting along in the sand dunes, the Lasernut is an awesome RC to have with you. It's bigger, it's badder, it's more aggressive, and it's 10 scale, so it's still reasonably lightweight and compact enough to bring with you somewhere. And if for some reason you bring it with you and you aren't able to drive it on your trip, well, at least you have it to stare at. If you guys want to check out the Lasernut, we've got links down below for you to check out, because the Lasernut is available in 2 different color schemes for $479.99. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like if you did. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and leave us any questions or comments that you have down below. I'm Brett from AMain Hobbies. Thanks for watching.